Welcome to the kitchen. Ooh, first time I'm filming here. Hello? Do you smell like peanut butter? Ooh, peanut butter? That's some extreme head tilting. The fridge just turned off. Huzzah! I feel like the fridge is really loud in here, but like the whole video's getting filmed in the kitchen, so I'm not turning off the fridge for that whole thing, because then I forget to turn it back on. That's happened before. Also, we just have noise aplenty because there's like a loud ass bird outside. Somebody is doing lawn care right now. Again, welcome to the kitchen. It's time for my one Christmassy video of the year. Except this year I made Christmas stockings, so I guess it's 2 Christmassy videos. As I mentioned last year, I'm not a big Christmas person or holiday person in general. You may have noticed the theme. But for some reason, I always have a lot of Christmassy, elaborate, over-the-top dessert ideas. So last year, my one Christmas effort was this cranberry eggnog gingerbread cake. And this year I thought I would continue the tradition with a Christmas croquembouche. Oh yeah, we getting fancy. Y'all, it is insane how long ago I had this baking idea. This is why I write everything down. Only the irony here was that I couldn't actually find it. Like, that's how long ago I had this idea and wrote it down. So long ago that I dug through years and years of notes and could not find where I detailed it. Luckily, I pretty much remember the whole idea, so. So if you don't know the fancy French term croquembouche, it is a tower of profiteroles, which are made of choux pastry. And now that I've said a lot of French words, I'll just show you a picture. I think it actually is traditionally a Christmas dessert and makes sense because it automatically resembles a Christmas tree. So I thought I'd make one that even more so resembles a Christmas tree. So here's the plan. Of course, first of all, you just have all your profiteroles stacked up in a very coney shape. This is often done by surrounding a styrofoam cone. I'm gonna see if I can do it with nothing inside, because, you know, why not challenge yourself to the point of probable failure? So then each of these profiteroles, I think I will cover with a green icing so that it looks even more like a tree. I was originally thinking of doing a green cracklin, which I might still try, but I have tried a cracklin once before, and it didn't exactly go well. An icing would be significantly easier. And of course, these are all bound together with caramel. The profiteroles need to be filled because why not? I thought I would do a fun peppermint creme pat inside because that is a holiday flavor. However, it's likely that Matt will refuse to eat anything filled with a peppermint creme pat because he's ridiculously picky. So I'll probably also make a vanilla creme pat to fill some of them so that I don't have to eat the whole thing by myself. Vanali? Good grief, can't spell. Vanilla? To make things a little more interesting, I may do a creme boost instead of a creme pat. That's the bulk of the actual dessert. Everything else would be decoration. Good old sugared cranberries, you know, you can't go wrong with them. They look like little ornaments. We'll throw some on there. And then just to jazz it up and add another layer, I think I will also make some sugar cookies, possibly lemon, just because I love a lemon sugar cookie. And I'll cut these out in star shapes, mainly so that there can be one star on top of the tree. But then, you know, I might stick a few more down here as well. Wow, look how good I am at drawing stars. And that's about it. This one isn't nearly as complex as last year's. I feel like that gingerbread cake just had like 12 million elements involved. But this one, you know, involves choux pastry. I have made choux pastry twice. I made eclairs once, and then I made, I'm blanking on the name. Not profiteroles, but the bigger ones. The eclairs turned out pretty darn good, especially for my first try. The profiteroles basically failed as far as choux pastry goes. Still ate them, but they failed. So we'll see how well that goes. Everything else on here shouldn't be too hard. There's not a lot of special stuff I need for this either. Everything to make this is stuff that I normally have in the fridge. I don't currently have it in the fridge because we haven't gone grocery shopping in 2 weeks. So we're gonna go grocery shopping now. And then I think today I will get started with the sugar cookies. I feel like my voice just broke there. Cookies? All right. Let's go get Christmassy. There is literally not a Christmassy thing in our entire house right now. What can I say? We're not Christmassy people. I guess I could listen to some Christmas music though. Crank up the Mariah Carey. Of course, I couldn't find a star-shaped cookie cutter, so my first task was making one out of some very dirty cardboard. Don't worry, I covered it all with a nice sanitizable tape. Then I had to pick some lemons from the backyard tree, which resulted in accidentally removing an entire branch. My second attempt turned out better. Lemons fresh off the tree smell so good. Those lemons get thoroughly washed, zested, and juiced, and yeah, the best tool for juicing is really just your very messy hands. I'm using Sally's Baking Blog, or Sally's Baking Addiction, never sure which one is official, for this sugar cookie recipe. So butter and sugar get creamed together, never for long enough, I get bored. Add egg, then some vanilla, spoon of lemon juice, all that zest, mix mix, toss toss, toss toss, mix mix. Add the flour, never measure your flour, it sucks, get a kitchen scale. Some baking powder and salt, no need to be super exact, zip it up again and enjoy the spoils of your work. That gets dumped on some cling wrap, rolled into a giant pancake, and tossed in the fridge for a few hours, or overnight. We'll see how I feel in a few hours. What's next? I guess I'll whip up those sugared cranberries since I don't really have anything else to do right now. Cup of sugar, little more sugar because it's the end of the canister, cup of water on the stove until it melts into a simple syrup, then let it cool. Now I'm bored again. Time to remind myself what creme boost is, and yes, I do have a spreadsheet comparing the various cremes. Didn't feel like making a meringue, so I decided to switch to creme mousseline instead, which basically means I just need a large batch of vanilla creme patisserie, half of which I'll turn into peppermint creme pat, and the other half of which I'll turn into vanilla creme mousseline. Yeah. I started with a cup and a half of milk, which is apparently all I bought, then topped that off with half a cup, more like 3/4 a cup of cream, a very confident pinch of salt, which frankly could just as easily have been pepper, and that goes on the stove to scald. Meanwhile, I separated 5 eggs. I would normally do 4 egg yolks for 2 cups of liquid, but I want this creme pat to be thick. I won't be using the whites for this bake, but they'll go in the fridge, assuming I can keep the eggshells out of there. And maybe I'll make some financiers later this week. Into the egg yolks goes half a cup of sugar, 1/4 cup of cornstarch, that's a lot, but again, I want her thick, and whisk into that yummy yellow paste with a tiny fork. Very binging Babish. Before things get too crazy, I always prep my end of creme pat station, butter, vanilla, peppermint extract, 2 bowls, and a sieve. Meanwhile, the milk has scalded, so now I'm very messily tempering my eggs. It's more fun if you make a mess. Dump them back into the pan and keep it stirring. Between the 5 yolks and all that cornstarch, I expect this to thicken fast, and yep, there it is. Took all of like 2 minutes to turn into a gloop. Over to my final prep station, and the gloop gets strained through what is frankly way too small of a sieve. This part bores me, surprise surprise, so I only do it when I really care. I stirred in a hunk of butter, about 2 tablespoons, and a squirt of vanilla paste, swirled it around until the butter melted, then separated some and added so much peppermint extract. It smelled insane, but I wasn't tasting all that much flavor, so I don't know, maybe my taste buds are dead. Those get covered right on the surface so a skin doesn't form, and they go in the fridge, and you know, that doesn't seem like very much, so I may have to make another whole batch tomorrow. Back to the cranberries. The simple syrup has cooled, so after picking out any possible yucky ones, this was notably not a new bag of cranberries, and I'd kind of forgotten how long they'd been in the fridge. Whoops. I poured half the syrup over the tray and drained off the excess. Oh look, there's my big sieve. Those need to dry just a little so it's not like a gloppy mess when you add the sugar. Let's check on the cookie dough. Cookies. Stiff as a board. That'll work. I cut out 6 star shapes, after which I abandoned that effort, cause how many stars do I really need? The rest are gonna be circles. While those baked, I got really lazy with the sugared cranberries and just dumped some sugar on top and tossed them around in a bowl. Wahoo! This is probably a sign that it is about quitting time for me today. Back at it the next morning, and we start with coffee.
always. The choux pastry is first up on my list, and in my research I discovered that apparently profiteroles are specifically a small choux bun filled with ice cream and covered in chocolate. If you're a French pastry chef, please confirm. So I guess I'm making cream puffs, not profiteroles, to be technical. Serious Eats has some great info on the ratios and stuff, so I'm going with half a cup of milk. Yes, I discovered more unspoiled milk in our fridge. Half a cup of water, 6 tablespoons of butter, a pinch of salt, and a little spoon of sugar, and a cup of flour weighed out separately. That goes on the stove to melt and boil, and once that happens, one must shoot in the flour. JK, I just dumped it all in at once, and stir vigorously as it becomes a delicious looking lump. Toss that goo in the stand mixer, and while it cools a bit, I cracked 4 eggs and gave them a light beating. Ooh, steam. Now the eggs get slowly incorporated into the aforementioned goo until the perfect consistency is reached. Triangle stage, dropping stage, whatever this is. Actually, this is a little on the thick side, but I'd rather have too thick than too thin, so we're going with it. Put all that in a pastry bag, going way above the max fill line because I'm a messy rebel, and prep a tray with parchment paper. Notably, a couple sources I looked at said not to bake choux on a silpat, and well, why take any chances? Since the oven is still preheating, I at last had the opportunity to sit down and actually drink my coffee, already cold, with a good old morning cookie, which is exactly how you want to start a baking day that will likely end with you in a sugar coma. Okay, oven is preheated, let's pipe some choux. You'll observe I'm lacking a Wilson A1 steak sauce P95 R2D2 piping nozzle, and yes, that's correct. I've never bothered investing in a plethora of slightly different nozzles because I hate piping with a burning passion. Now the key to getting evenly sized, neat cream puffs is caring. But I think we all know that's not how I jam in the kitchen. Luckily, it turns out this choux was delightfully perfect piping consistency, not too thick after all. So eventually things started going my way, and I wound up with a solid collection of little poo mounds. Use a wet finger to get rid of those peaks, no peeking allowed. Then comes the absolute hardest part. Egg washing. See, these things are already a light eggy color and a little wet from the de-peaking, and you're adding a light eggy colored wet substance on top, so it's nigh on impossible to tell if you've actually done it or if you've done nothing at all. Oh well. Those go in the oven at 400 for 25-ish minutes or something like that. Matt accidentally canceled my timer halfway through, so I'm not sure. You know, they say a watched pot never boils, but if you sit very still, you can in fact observe your choux pastry browning. This is really good cream puff. While those cooled in the oven with the door cracked, I moved on to icing the cookies. I'm making the royal icing with lemon juice because that's how you really get a lemony flavor on a cookie.
Hey look, I've never used these. Alright, math yellow. Gonna try this.
And I'm gonna ice these things with a skewer because of the whole, you know, distaste for piping bags.
Huh, that's actually working.
If you have a similar distaste, I'm happy to report that this 100% works.
Okay. Well, I liked that way better than piping.
All cookies iced, it was time to return to those fillings. Must turn the creme into creme mousseline with a whole bunch of butter. This is a 2-to-1 ratio of creme to whipped butter, so I just weighed out my vanilla cream first, well, after sniffing it very thoroughly to make sure it wasn't the peppermint cream, and then divided the number in half to get my butter quantity. Beat the butter, add the cream 1 spoon at a time, and presto, you have creme mousseline. You must say it that way every time. Creme mousseline. Ooh! Ooh! I'm not a big fan of typical buttercreams, but apparently this is very similar to German buttercream, and I approve. We're getting close to construction here, so it's time to beat a few candy canes to death. Woo! Some of those bits go in the peppermint cream for even more highly unnecessary peppermint flavor, and now it's time for filling. This creme mousseline is seriously thick, y'all.
I mean, it's going in. It's just really thick. Ooh.
It did not want to travel down the one very skinny piping nozzle I happen to have, so I had to get creative.
I need like a hydraulic press. I think it's time to bring in the big guns, by which I mean Matt.
Basically, I put it in a Ziploc instead, and then made Matt do all the squeezing while I secured the puffs. They got filled, and that's what matters. Finally getting some use out of my green food coloring, I made another batch of royal icing, this time for the top of the cream puffs. And this is officially the messiest part of the whole bake. And we're done, we're good to go. We have all the components. Oh wait, nope, there's one more. The Elmer's glue of the patisserie caramel. This is the part that's totally new to me, as I've never tried to use caramel to stick something together before, and I'm just anticipating burns and gloop and general mess. Let's begin! Okay. That's real close to my finger. Ooh. Those fit together so well. It's like a little puzzle. I need a real one. Oh, you gotta solidify so fast. So I didn't burn myself really at all, and the mess was small. I had to keep returning the pan of caramel to the stove to melt again because it would solidify in about 30 seconds flat. Probably doesn't help that the house is pretty chilly right now. I have absolutely no idea if this is actually going upward in a straight manner. Back on the stove. Oh my god. That was my freaking stomach. But yeah, overall, not that difficult of a process, even without building it around a cone. We're a little weenie, not gonna lie. However, they do seem really solid. Granted, if you want a straight croquembouche and not a slouchy, leaning, lopsided one, you may find this part a little more complicated. The tradition has continued. Hello. I feel like this one is somehow less impressive than last year, and yet I kind of had more fun making it. So, winning all around. Oh, hello. Invitation? Boop. You're just hiding behind the tree. You just gonna sit here? Okay. It wasn't quite as messy as last year's. The gingerbread house, all of that piping. I recall lightly that that was a struggle for me. This did not have nearly as many precision skills required. And I kind of did it very messily. I do feel like this is, you know, an elementary school version. Not just because it's a little messy, but because we ended up with like yellow, green, red, like, well, those aren't primary colors, but like bold, basic colors. It's not exactly elegant, but it is super cute. I'm pleased. I learned some fun stuff with this bake. First of all, I feel like I absolutely mastered choux pastry. I mean, this only makes my third time making them, but they turned out pretty darn perfectly, and I don't feel like it was like by chance that they turned out well. I feel like I did everything right and I know how to do it right next time. I don't generally like to say that I'm like scared of making something, but my last attempt at choux pastry was just really disheartening. So now I kind of want to make it all the time because oh my god, you can make so much with choux pastry and it is divine. Also, the creme mousseline, I knew what that was, but this was my first time actually bothering to ever make some, and that was quite delicious. It's still here. And now I know if I ever want to make iceable cookies, which probably I won't because
As we mentioned, I hate icing cookies, but these are like a real good recipe for them. Perfect coloring, nice and smooth, great for cookie icing, if that is a thing you're looking for. Oh, I'm breaking this one. I guess that means I'll have to eat it. What a shame. Yeah, okay, that was fun. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and if you have a ridiculous Christmas themed dessert that you think I should make next year, do let me know in the comments. I'm gonna go try to clean caramel out of that pot, which is not going to be fun. I haven't actually tried the cream in a cream puff yet, so I guess I should do that. Matt tried multiple and said they were very good. Yo, that's good. That is real good. That tastes like a store-bought cream puff, but better. A little bit better. Just a little bit better. Woo! Butter is magic.